Hey folks, welcome to my world. It is Dominique back here with you, and we have some sad stuff to talk about tonight on The Walking Dead recap and review. I would like to come at you with a video at some point. Unfortunately, over the last couple of days, I've been hit with just a really bad case of the stomach flu, and I am really not feeling up necessarily to being on camera right now. Doesn't mean I can't come at you via Spreaker and do a little podcast action though. So there you go. How about that? So folks, once again, before you continue with this episode, there are spoilers ahead. So please stop, turn around, go back and watch the latest episode of The Walking Dead that aired tonight, Sunday, December 10th, 2017, the mid-season finale, how it's going to be. Please go ahead and watch that episode before you tune back into this podcast. And if you continue listening to this podcast and you have not yet watched that episode, how it's going to be, you're going to end up real disappointed because I'm going to spoil the shit out of it for you. So please turn around, watch the episode, and then come back and join us right here on Welcome to My World. So, we've got lots to cover tonight, and I'm just going to be totally real with you. I don't know how much of it I'm going to get to. I just don't know, because there's a lot going on in this episode. There is a lot going on in this episode. So, let's get to it. But before we do, I want to just remind, be wise now. YouTube subscriber, be wise now. I'm going to be announcing this at the beginning of every podcast and every video until December 16th, which is our date to pick a new winner for our giveaway of my book, How to Get Your Loved One Back, when someone you love has closed the lines of communication. So, be wise now. You have won a copy of my book. Please let me know if you would like it sent to you in paperback version or through the internet, through the interwebs, via ebook. So I'm really happy to help you get a copy of that book for free. Just let me know how you want it, and I'll be happy to send it to you. I know that everybody doesn't always get a chance to tune into every single thing that I put out there, and I totally understand that, but I don't want you to miss out on your opportunity to get a copy of my book, which I'm giving away this month. So please tune in and make sure that you do subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dominique Does Life, where, by the way, all of these podcast episodes air, in addition to videos, reviews, business videos for my coaching business, and many, many, many other things. Please subscribe so that you can be entered automatically to win a copy of my book for free and many other goodies that I'll be giving away over the extent of the holiday season. So, no reason not to, right? You're going to get some interesting little tidbits and videos and podcasts. And you're also going to be entered to win cool things. Everyone wins, right? Everyone wins when you click subscribe. But be sure to tune in at least to the very beginning of each video and each podcast where I will be announcing the winners. Okay, so back to The Walking Dead. Be wise now. I will hear from you hopefully very shortly. My contact information is in the description for this video / podcast. So holler at me and I will get you a copy of that book for free. Now, all right, like I said, there's a lot going on in this episode of The Walking Dead. A lot going on. Obviously, there is an upshot. We're going to get to that in a little bit. There's an upshot, as was promised. Somebody, unfortunately, does die. Very important character, right? So, no offense to some of the folks who have died in this season. Up until now, they have been emotional deaths. Shiva was an emotional death, right? And, okay, I'm probably going to butcher this name because I have such a problem remembering every single character in The Walking Dead, but I believe it was Eric. Eric died, and he was Aaron's partner. although we don't know for sure that he died, it's pretty darn likely that he did. We had some good evidence kind of suggesting that that's what happened. So we haven't really had a big, huge, important show-changing death. We do have one in this episode. And let's talk about what happens up until that point, and then we'll get to that in just a little bit. So, the tide of war turns in this episode. How it's going to be? It's how it's got to be, I believe. So, how it's got to be, I was right. It really tells the story of a war that is got a real turning tide, that it's not going to necessarily go just one way. It's not like one, good guy and one bad guy are fighting it out and only one of them, wins, and there's no plot twist and there's no emotion. There is actually a lot of emotion. There are quite a few plot twists, this being one of them. Because of Eugene's helpful efforts, thanks Eugene, we see that the saviors, at least most of the sort of important saviors, the leaders, including Negan, get out of the compound, and sadly they do make their way to Alexandria, where the Alexandrians are kind of shoring up, waiting for Rick to come back. I mean, my goodness, have you left yourself a little open there, Rick? It's like one of those Star Trek episodes where every officer goes down to the surface of a planet. What, is the assistant cook going to be driving the ship home? I mean, really, you're not going to leave every single innocent person at home to be potentially slaughtered with no one to protect them. Thankfully, Michonne makes her way back to Alexandria, but only by chance, you guys. This was not planned. So what was Rick thinking? What were the writers thinking? Rick is not a dumb guy. I don't know what that was about. And like I say, Negan and some of the saviors make their way to Alexandria, surprise everybody while the big dogs are gone, and basically come in, knock on the door, and really polite, right? Knocking on the door, not busting the door down, but they knock on the door. Negan comes through with a loudspeaker and basically says, guys, it's been real. Cute attempt at overthrowing me, big ups, A+ work, but I'm coming back, and not only am I going to take Alexandria and probably burn it down to the ground, and do the same thing to the kingdom, I'm going to kill Rick, and then you guys are going to work for me, and everything that you make, everything you produce, everything you beg, borrow, or steal is going to go to me. And so kind of he's trying to change the psychological tide, as he always is, kind of like, thank Rick for this, not me, it's not my fault, thank Rick for this. And at this point, however, although that's an admirable tack to take, psychologically speaking, he's not gaining a lot of ground. It's not working too well. And folks don't come to apologize. They don't come to the door and open it and say, "Oh, come on in. We've seen the error of our ways." And one of the things that Negan does say as he comes up to the door and very politely knocks, like I said, is that he says everybody has to offer him an apology. And basically the lamest apology, the most lacking or non-heartfelt apology, is going to serve to get the person who made it killed. So fun times will be had for all. Not. And of course, this isn't a huge amount of inspiration for the Alexandrians to say, hey, why don't you come on in? But the saviors do make their way inside of Alexandria anyway, and they do go about burning shit to the ground, okay? That's just Negan. You knew that was going to happen. Now, while folks like Daryl and Michonne are kind of arguing over, well, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Are we going to go head to head and fight him? Or, how are we going to do this? Carl's like, you guys. He's like, no, really, you guys. That would be some great dialogue, wouldn't it? You guys, come on, guys. Come on, I'm totally over it. Guys, I'm 100% over it. I can't even. I'm a millennial and I can't even. Like, that would be excellent dialogue right there. So please understand that I'm encapsulating and not using word for word dialogue that the writers have written. But Carl basically says, guys, hey, you know what? You're busy fighting over here. And Negan's going to basically march in and burn shit down. And, are we going to let him do that and kill all of us? Or are we going to escape with our lives, which really are what we're fighting for, and our relationships, which are what we're fighting for? So Carl acts as a distraction and allows everybody to escape either into the sewers, where his new friend is hiding, this new friend that Carl has been assisting and has been helping. I believe his name is Siddiq. And so I believe this man whose name is Siddiq, this young man, is hiding in the sewers. And so Carl doesn't have much time to tell everyone that Siddiq is down there, but he has just a moment to tell Michonne and kind of say, hey, don't be surprised. There's somebody down there that I've been helping. They're basically like, they're not one of the enemies. Just go easy on him, help him. He's one of us. So he sends everybody down into the sewers, and those who weren't sent into the sewers were told to essentially pack stuff up, get it in the trucks, and drive out the back door. So, as I said, for this to happen successfully, at least, Carl needs to come up with a distraction, and he does. He comes up with a very good distraction himself. He has always had an interesting bond with Negan, who, as I've mentioned before, I think is really a representation of the dark side or the dark nature of Rick. So, of course, it would make sense that the character who sort of represents Rick's dark side also has a connection with Rick's son, Carl. Makes sense, don't it? So, he comes up on top of the wall and starts talking to Negan and says, hey, you want to kill people? You want to kill someone? You want to appease basically the gods of war, if you will. You want to appease everyone. You want to appease your citizens, kind of show that you're in control still. Kill me. And we're looking at that as viewers at that moment as being rather a big sacrifice. And we're thinking he can't be serious. He's got to be bluffing. And if he is serious, he's just got to be about the most selfless person this side of the continent. Like, he can't be serious. Well, come to find out later, he is serious, and there is a good reason that he did this, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So, Carl is up there on top of the wall telling Negan, hey, take me. I don't want other people to die. And Negan is kind of impressed by this. Now, of course, when Negan starts hearing cars drive out the back of the settlement, he realizes that Carl was bullshitting him. And he realizes that Carl was up there creating a distraction. However, you can tell that Negan is still not totally certain that Carl was not being honest or truthful. Because we know Carl. Negan knows Carl. Negan's no dummy. He knows a lot about the human mind and human character. So we still know that probably it's likely, at least, that Negan understands that Carl is actually sacrificing himself. Because that's Carl's nature. Okay? That's Carl's nature. And so Negan has always had a little bit of a soft spot, shall we say, for Carl, and he asks that his people capture Carl alive and kind of round up the rest of the Alexandrians, right? Well, doesn't happen because Carl's plan works. People escape. Yes, they do lose Alexandria, at least most, if not all of it, but they escape. The only person that comes back, obviously, other than Rick, because he doesn't know that this is happening, is Michonne. Rick and Michonne are both confronted by saviors when they come back. Now, Michonne, as usual, handles her savior quite handily, takes him out and kills him with a sword through the eye. Could be some foreshadowing there, guys. Just saying. Sword through the eye. Takes him out. Rick, of course, and Negan go head to head. Now, it's the mid-season finale, so ain't either of them going to die. We know that. We know what we've signed up for, right? But still an interesting fight. They're very evenly matched. And the interesting thing, I think, about when they pit Rick and Negan together one-on-one is that one will seem to be winning, and then the other seems to be winning. And you know, they do both land hits on each other, but neither one ever wins. And this does make a lot of sense when you think about it in terms of Negan being a representation of Rick's dark nature, of Rick's dark, practical, and yes, slightly egotism-driven, I should say, nature. And so that makes a lot of sense to us. Now think about this, folks. How many times did Rick go like one-on-one with the governor? I mean, he did go a few times, go a few rounds with the governor. How many times did he go one-on-one with the folks at Terminus? How many times did he really actually go one-on-one with Shane? And obviously these have all been folks who could be said to be representing Rick's darker nature. But Negan is the most current and I think the most obvious representation of Rick's darker nature. And the most accurate, I would say, representation of Rick's darker nature. In fact, I think a lot of the characters, it's sort of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this way, that a lot of the characters around Rick, while still living their own lives and having their own motivations and their own storylines and their own character developments and their own hero journeys, they are representations of Rick. And interestingly enough, in this season and in the previous season, the folks on the Savior's side are representations of Negan. Very obvious representations of Negan. So I really find this season to be psychologically interesting. I think they're going to have to shake it up a bit, though, because if folks haven't cottoned on to that by now, they ain't gonna, right? And I think you got to give the viewers a little bit of credit here and understand that you're dealing with intelligent people. And I think there's going to have to be some added element of danger or drama if we really want to keep people engaged. And I'll definitely be very interested to see what that is as the season moves on. I hope the show doesn't become too navel-gazing and too formulaic and, you know, too simple. Not good simple, but like calling it in, phoning it in simple. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I am concerned, however, because one of the characters who represents like Rick's good nature and who really represents what the hell everyone is fighting for does die in this episode. And I'm really kind of concerned with where the show's going to go after that. And we'll get to that in a moment. I promise we will. So after the fight with Rick and Negan in Alexandria, and with Michonne and her savior, nameless savior number 8 or whatever, who gets a sword through the eye, you know what? No, I'm not actually after that. After that in this podcast, the way that I'm listing events that have happened, but in the show, like timeline wise, I guess I misspoke. It's really not after that. But anywho, in the show, in fact, at the very beginning of the show, we see Aaron, and we see him, obviously he is going on his own journey, as we know, and he is doing what he can to help in his own way. Is he necessarily a fighter? I don't know if I would say he is, but he is certainly doing what he can to help in his own way. And so he is on a trip, on a car trip, in fact, with, okay, I'm totally forgetting her name.